You're listening to Glove Up or Shut Up on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Does the belt go back to Cormier? Would people even accept that after he's already been beaten by John Jones a couple of times? Peter, go ahead.
I asked you this last week, Stevie and Todd. You can jump in on this because we didn't really have a good answer last week. If the title changes hands but the fight is overturned, does the belt go back to the former champion?
I mean, we haven't. I don't think we've had a precedent on this one as far as like a commission having to make a ruling, because it happened with Josh Barnett and Randy Couture, where Couture lost the belt to Josh Barnett, and then they ended up holding up the title and then making it on the line between a fight between Randy Couture and Enrico Rodriguez. But that was just. I mean, Randy at that point just sort of seemed to want it that way. I don't even think that was like a commission ruling. I think that was just sort of a UFC ruling, because things weren't overseen as closely in terms of commissions dictating things. So I'm not really sure how it would be handled. My inclination is that you give the title back to Daniel Cormier. That's what makes the most logical sense to me. If you've got a champion and he loses to another person who's, essentially been ruled as cheating, the fight is a no contest, and to me then the champion would still be the same champion.
Exactly. Yeah.
But does that hurt Cormier as a draw going forward? Even if he rightfully deserves the belt back, does he still maintain the ability to defend that title and do numbers for UFC that they would want?
Well, I mean, he'll do better numbers than a lot of their champions, but unfortunately, Cormier's whole, title run, there's just been the John Jones thing hanging over everything, and it won't be any exception this time around. And yeah, that's gonna limit the upper mobility as far as the interest that he can generate. I think if you had like a longer period of time, let's say that Daniel Cormier was 25, 26. Then I think over, a period of time, people will be like, okay, this guy's, if he keeps winning, this guy's proven himself, and, he's sort of moved away from the specter of John Jones. But given that Cormier is in his late 30s, I just don't think there's enough time for him to sort of have, fended off challenges for a number of years. People are sort of forgetting John Jones. It's like, yeah, Daniel Cormier, he's just the number one guy. I don't think there's going to be enough time for that to develop.
That's the other problem I had with this whole scenario of Jones testing positive, is that he has not only taken away something from Cormier in terms of people will always judge him by those two fights, he's taken something away from him by potentially, as a doped up fighter who hurt him severely in that fight when he's already at an advanced point in his career, possibly shortened his career, and there may not have been much left in the tank for Cormier, win or lose, after that fight.
Yeah.
When did they find out that he failed the test, though? Was it after the fight?
Well, I mean, they found out after the fight that the test that he failed was at the weigh-ins.
Yeah, so, I mean, it wasn't like a situation where the last time they were supposed to fight and Dana White took him backstage and was like, he tested positive, and he's still, I'll fight him. And Dana goes, no, the commission won't let you.
Yeah, Peter and I sort of had this argument last week where it's like they should have known, and my response to that was, there is no lab in America that can turn around a post-weigh-in drug test that fast that they would know before the fight takes place. Do you agree, Todd?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you get some kind of new testing system from the world's fastest lab ever, at which point they would probably question the veracity of a test that came back that fast anyway.
I never know. Technology might improve in 10, 20 years.
Even if it does, there's still going to be backlogs. That's part of the problem we have right now, is that there are so many tests to process and there are so few labs that you can't turn around everything because there's just a queue of people with tests waiting to be done.
Yeah. Now, Todd, did you think we were going to see John Jones actually fight Brock Lesnar?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay. I said to Stevie a couple weeks ago, and I said, what are the Todd's odds? And here you are a few weeks later on the show. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't have put it at 100% because Lesnar could have ended up playing up both sides and, deciding, hey, I just want to go back to WWE and not bother with this other fight. Or, obviously, as we've established, things go wrong with John Jones. So there's a number of things that could have happened. But yeah, I think that all the parties involved, Jones, Lesnar, UFC, wanted to make the fight happen. And yeah, I think it would have happened.
Now, I've seen some people make the statement that Brock Lesnar's value has actually increased for UFC because they need a big name, and Conor has now maybe priced himself out of their range to get a mid to upper level pay-per-view where they could do 800,000 buys. He has to have a big fight that does $1 million every time. So maybe Brock Lesnar has even more value to UFC now than he did before, with both Jones out and Conor being so expensive.
I think that we're talking about a variety of factors here. Like, I think that Conor, if he's going to be commanding a ton of money, does make you want to sign Brock Lesnar more. I think Jones being out from the standpoint of UFC needing draws, also works in that direction. However, taking those factors on one side and then taking on the other side that Jones-Brock was a fight they viewed as a money fight, and there isn't something that jumps out as being a moneymaker on that level. I think Brock versus Stipe is probably the most logical thing that they do. Not logical may not be the right word, but as far as like a fight that would draw and sort of serve their purposes, I think that's probably what they're looking at. I don't think that's as big of a fight by any means as the John Jones fight, and thus, if you're asking me, does Brock Lesnar have more leverage than he did a month ago? I would say strongly no.
Well, we do have the situation right now in the heavyweight division that you alluded to where Brock Lesnar would bring interest in that heavyweight division, and that's not because Stipe Miocic is a bad champion. It's just because you look at the guys he's already beaten, and then you look at the rest of the division, and there aren't necessarily money fights at heavyweight that would compare to Lesnar and Jones, because are people really that geared up to see Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou, or Stipe Miocic and Alexander Volkov? I don't know that those are big drawing fights for UFC.
You're so dismissive, Stevie, but just wait until Ben Rothwell comes back. The money will come pouring in, my friend.
Well, we can certainly hope so. And maybe they'll gear up one of these two guys in the next UFC fight night between Volkov and Struve. Maybe one of them will come out of it so impressive that people will actually be clamoring to see him fight Stipe.
That seems unlikely, but, there's always hope. There's always hope, my friend.
That is true. So, speaking of hope, who do you think has more hope of winning that fight?
I guess I hadn't even thought about the fight very much, honestly. I don't even know what the odds are. I guess I narrowly favor Volkov, but I could see the fight going either way. I think that Volkov's the better striker. Struve has that reach advantage, but I mean he's less, he's the fighter. If you tell me name one fighter in MMA history that's the worst at utilizing his or her reach, the answer would be Stefan Struve. So I see Volkov doing sort of what a lot of fighters have done, and just sort of being able to wade in and land shots on Struve, and Struve not getting off as much. Now, the X factor is that Struve does have a really good submission game. So if Volkov rather makes a mistake there and ends up on the ground, Struve can be pretty tricky. But I think Volkov on balance is probably going to be landing the better shots, and I think he'll probably win the fight.
Well, he is the favorite right now at -130 to +110 for Struve, so that's a on-paper favorite, but that's a pretty close line overall. So, Peter...
very close to pick 'em.
Yeah. What do you think, Peter?
I mean, I was leaning more on Struve as a submission victory, but, maybe Struve will focus more on the striking, which is more dangerous for him, but you gotta, there's so many different ways this fight can go, but, I mean, right now my brain is telling me, like Todd said, Struve by submission.
It's just that we've seen Struve with so many tactical advantages in fights in the past, and seen a guy with good striking simply negate all of them. It's a formula that's kind of become wash, rinse, repeat when it comes to a big Stepan Struve fight.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I think a lot of people would like to see Stefan Struve as a big factor at heavyweight for a number of reasons. Like I think he has entertaining fights. He's sort of a unique character because of the just the physical size and reach, which is not something a lot of people have. And he's a nice affable personality as well, but he just never put it all together as a fighter.
No, it is unfortunate that way because you're right. He is a very affable, easygoing guy, great guy to interview. He's definitely somebody that could offer a lot of star power and be a draw for UFC in other markets outside of the United States if he was to ever ascend to the ranks at the top. But that seems a dim prospect, and I'm just being honest about it with no offense meant to Struve at all. But in the co-main event of this same card that we're talking about, Volkov versus Struve, we've got a women's bantamweight fight between Marion Renault and Talia de Oliveira, and I'm looking for the line on that right now, but while I'm looking for it, Peter, give me your thoughts.
I'm trying to make the case for Oliveira to win here, and I'm having a hard time figuring it out.
What's that?
I don't know. I just think that she's a talented fighter. Obviously, it's a co-main event here, but I don't know. There's something about her opponent here that's just, it's a hunch. It's more, I can't really put it into words, but it's a hunch I have that she's going to lose.
Well, I mean, we do have the situation that Toledo's coming in as a replacement, so